How can an egg help you with your driving? We're going to find out in this video. So there are different ways that people hold the steering wheel. So this is the most common one. This is the 10-2 position. So you've got 10 o'clock here and 2 o'clock here. Most steering wheels have this padded area here by the 10-2 position. This is what was traditionally recommended. Nowadays, you can hold the steering wheel how you like, as long as the car is under control. Some people prefer to hold it down here. Some people prefer to hold it up here. But at high speeds, down here is not ideal, especially if you're new, because this, when you hold the steering wheel down here, this is going to cause a lot of movement, sometimes even by accident. So if you move a bit that way, let's say you're doing 70 miles an hour and you move the steering wheel a bit by accident towards the left or right, the car is going to go a long way. Whereas here, this is more of a sturdy position and you're not going to move the steering wheel as much when you're holding it in this position here. A lot of my learners struggle with how tightly to hold the steering wheel. Some of them hold it so tight that halfway through the lesson, their hands are aching and they can't really control the car anymore. Either because they're nervous or because they think that if they let go of the steering wheel, if they don't hold it tight enough, the car is going to go all over the place. This is not the case. You want to hold it lightly. And now to figure out how lightly to hold it, imagine a raw egg and you're holding a raw egg. Let's say I hold it too tight. You see, it breaks. I'm joking. There's not really an egg in there, but you get my point. If you hold it too tightly, it's going to break. So if you hold it too loose, it will drop. So if I'm holding the steering wheel now, I'm imagining that this is an egg, and if I hold it too tightly, it's going to break, and if I hold it too loose, it's going to drop. So you hold it just like you're holding a raw egg. That way, you're going to have better control of the car, and you're not going to have achy hands halfway through your lesson. So when it comes to steering properly, first thing you want to do is make sure that you're in the correct position. If you're sitting too far away or too close to the steering wheel, it's going to be very difficult for you to steer. So you want to adjust the seat in a way that it's not like this. So this is too far away. You see my arms are too straight and I'm finding it quite hard to reach the steering wheel. You also don't want to be sitting so close that you're really close to the steering wheel like this, and it's going to be difficult for you to move your arms like this. So you can pull this bar and then move the seat back, adjust it in a way that there's a slight bend in your arm just like that. And if you need to, you can also move the backrest using this knob here, and then that way, adjust it a bit more. This way, there's a little bend on my arm. This allows me to move my hands all the way around the steering wheel comfortably. So you want to be able to do this comfortably. This is how you know that you're in the right position. So there are loads of different ways to actually steer. The main thing is that you've got the car under control, which means the car goes where you want it to go. So like in this situation, if I want to move to the left now, I could do the traditional pull and push technique, which is pulling the steering wheel down and then pushing up with my other hand, and then bringing it back again, just like that. Nice and straightforward. And then when you're bringing the steering wheel back again, same thing again. So like here, I'm turning left here. I'm going to use, I'm just going to freestyle into this turn here. So I'll start off just by doing that. You see, I've crossed my arm a bit over and then back again like that. And you get a lot of people that say, oh, you shouldn't cross your arms. But if that's how you're comfortable steering, and then do it. As long as you know how to do it properly. Sometimes crossing your arms makes it a lot easier for you to steer the car, as long as you do it properly. I've seen people try to do this, but then they struggle to turn the wheel properly, and they coming off the road or not steering quick enough. Whichever technique works for you, do it that way. I've also seen people hold the steering wheel down here. This is not the best for control, because when you move the steering wheel like this, it moves a lot, especially at high speeds. You don't want to be holding it there at high speeds. Hold it here, this way. At high speeds, you won't have much movement in the steering wheel, especially by accidents, because some people, when they have this hands down here like this, any small movement at high speeds is going to make the car go quite a long way. So when you hold it here, it will make it a lot easier for you to control the car and keep it straight. So there's going to be times when you need to steer with one hand, especially in a situation where you're trying to turn and gear down or gear up. So let's say I'm going into this corner, going towards the left, but then let's say I've realized a bit late that I need to gear down. So now I need to gear down, but I also need to keep the car turning. Yeah, so I can turn the steering wheel with one hand and then bringing it back up again to the middle. So you see that my palm was open and I had a bit of pressure pushed towards the front. Then I was steering it towards where I wanted it to go, and then back again to the right. So I'll show you again. So if I was doing it like that, and then back again to the middle, and then holding it. Yeah. So with that technique, you want to push the steering wheel forward a bit, just so that you've got a bit of pressure in it. That way, when you turn it, your hand's not going to slip. Yeah, let's say I'm going to gear down into this turn, and I want to turn still. So I'll gear down, and I can still move my steering wheel while I'm doing that, and then I can bring my other hand back and help it out a bit. Now, when you're straightening up your wheels, let's say you've turned and then you want the car to straighten up again, you can do it like this, where I'm still holding onto the steering wheel and I'm bringing it back towards the middle. Or you can actually let go of the steering wheel a bit and then let it straighten itself out, and I'll show you what I mean on this turn here. So once it's clear, so if I've turned now, so to straighten up, I just ease off, I just let go a bit and then it straightens up. But you notice I didn't let go of it fully, I had my hand still around it, and then I just let it slide back through my fingers back to the center, and then I held it. With this technique, it's not just about letting it go and let it do its own thing, you still want to be able to control it as your steering wheel's going back to the center, just like here. I'm going to let it go a bit, but I'm still controlling. So you see here, it's still facing towards a bit left because I didn't want it to go any more right. So it's not always about bringing it back straight to the middle. Sometimes you might want to catch it before it goes all the way back to the middle, depending on what the shape of the road and where you're trying to go. So like here, for instance, if I've turned now, I can start straightening up, but then once I get to like here, I can hold it because the road is curving towards this way a bit. I can hold it a bit that way, because if I was to hold it in the middle, it was going to go too far towards the right. When you're reversing, steering can be a bit trickier because you have to look around while controlling the car as well. Now this can be tricky. I'll show you what I mean. So let's say I'm going to reverse now. I've looked around and then I'm looking all around me as well, because you need to look back behind you. And then when you do that, it's easy to steer towards the left by mistake. It's also easy to steer towards the right when you're looking to the right. This can mess up the whole maneuver when you're going in reverse. So practice keeping your hands still while you're looking around like that. An easier way to steer, which is what a lot of experienced drivers do, is using one hand. So when you use one hand, this allows you more flexibility to move around, you see? I can move around like this without my hands kind of following my body. I can actually just move around, it's more flexible like this. Then I can just turn it the way I want. If I want to go left, I can turn it slightly left. If I want to go right, I can turn it slightly right and then bring it back to the center again. This way, I can even put my arm behind this seat here, so that way I'm way more comfortable like this, and keep going back. And then once I'm done, I can secure the car and then it's done.